When I was 18 years old, I was a young man getting out of high school, lost and full of pride and all kinds of dreams that I wanted to pursue for my own. I really had a plan, and my plan was to go to college and get a degree in music and basically become famous and run around all the music circles and meet people and go to parties and gatherings. And that was my dream, and make a lot of money. But I was just lost, and I was in all kinds of sin, and I was partying, meeting people, having relationships. In high school, I had a high school sweetheart, and we went through all high school together. But one thing happened in her life is that her family, they actually gave their lives to Jesus, and I was part of that. I was able to see how everything was changing in their lives, and I didn't understand it at all, many things, but I understood that something was going on different. Well, when we were graduating high school, she came to me one day and she says, I want to serve God, and it appears that you don't want to, and because I really didn't want to follow any religion or like that. I used to call it all organized religion. I'm not into that, And so she said, I want to serve God. I want to just continue to go to church and give my life to Jesus. And so I said, oh, you can do whatever you want. But the reality is that my pride didn't want me to surrender my life to Jesus. And I told her, oh, you can go and do whatever you want. I'm going to go ahead and go to college and do what I want to do. But the reality is that, she continued on, but the reality is that there was an emptiness in my heart, and that emptiness was there, and I didn't know why it was there. When that emptiness, when I was going to college and just meeting people and going to parties and just doing whatever I wanted to do, there was still that emptiness in my heart that I didn't know why it was there, because I was a young man with no direction. Well, what happened was one day somebody told me about Jesus, apart from the people that I already knew, and they shared with me the gospel of Jesus Christ, and the gospel was able to go into my heart, and I started thinking about the things of God and about Jesus and what that sacrifice meant to me. And to make the long story short, I one day I called the only people that I knew, the only real Christians that I knew. I called them. I say, hey, I want to go to church, but it was my ex-girlfriend, and she says, you know what? No, I don't want you to come for me. I don't want you to come to church because of me. If you don't want to do this, you don't have to. But I say, hey, I want to go to church. So she hangs up on me. She hangs the phone on me, and she says, I don't want you to come. Well, then I called back and I said, hey, get me to talk to your dad. I talked to her dad that he's given his life to Jesus so radically, so awesome. And so I said, hey, I want to go to church. I remember that day I went to church. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what the preacher was preaching that day, but I do remember one thing. I remember the altar call. And when that altar call was going on, I remember the Spirit of God, and God was touching my heart where I was fighting it. But at the same time, God was giving me that grace, that comfort that I needed to make a decision to give my life to Him. So when the altar call was over, I raised my hand, and I want to tell you, it was like something broke in my heart, and that emptiness was filled with God. And I went to the altar. God touched me. I was crying like a baby. I laid everything in the altar. I left everything there. And I knew that moment, that day, that God touched me, that God really changed my life, and that I was not lost anymore, that I was a young man still, yes, but I was not lost anymore. I was found, and that I had direction. For the first time in my life, I had direction. So from that moment, I went out and I served God, and I want to tell you, God today has given me a great church, a great family. The girlfriend that I had, she's my wife, and I have 4 children, and I didn't do anything. All I did is gave my life to Christ, and He was the one that restored my life. My name is Misael Moreno, and that's my 180 story.